You've been lied to about money. They told you work hard, save, and you'll be rich. But look around, the hardest workers are often the poorest. There's a missing piece, and it's been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. Right here in words so simple we skip over them is the real law of wealth. Not hustle, not luck. Something far more powerful. Why most people stay poor. There is a truth that has been known for centuries, yet most never come to understand it. You see men and women laboring day after day, year after year, yet never rising above their circumstances. They believe hard work alone will save them, that if they just push a little harder, their fortunes will change. But time passes and nothing shifts. The reason they are missing the one law that governs all abundance. It begins in the mind. Every man's outer world is nothing more than a reflection of his inner world. If he sees scarcity, he lives in scarcity. If he believes wealth is for others but not for him, then that will be his reality. The poor man is not cursed by fate. He is bound by his own thought. He does not realize that his words, his daily conversations, his silent expectations are all shaping his destiny. Consider the farmer who plants seeds in barren soil. No matter how much he tends to them, they will not flourish. His labor is not the issue. The ground itself is unprepared. So it is with the mind. A man may work tirelessly, but if his thoughts are rooted in fear and doubt, in the belief that he does not deserve more, then his efforts will yield little. There is a story of two men who walked the same road. One saw only hardship, spoke of lack, and expected misfortune at every turn. The other, though facing the same conditions, held a quiet certainty that opportunity was hidden in every challenge. The first man remained where he was. The second prospered. The difference was not in their hands, it was in their vision. The wealthy understand this law. They do not wait for fortune to find them. They shape their thoughts to attract it. They guard their minds against doubt, against the words of those who say, "It cannot be done." They know that before gold can fill their hands, the idea of gold must fill their minds. If you wish to change your circumstances, you must first change your thinking. The world does not give to you what you ask for, it gives to you what you believe in. The ancient book that holds the secret, long before men wrote of success, before there were libraries filled with volumes on wealth and power, there was one book that held the keys to prosperity. It was not a manual on trade, nor a guide to hoarding riches. It was a book of wisdom, passed down through generations, speaking in simple truths that few took the time to truly understand. This book did not speak of money directly. Instead, it spoke of the mind. It spoke of the power of words, of the importance of guarding one's thoughts, of the invisible forces that shape a man's destiny. It said, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." A simple phrase, yet one that holds the secret to all abundance. The wealthy have always known. They do not leave their fortunes to chance. They do not believe in luck. They understand that every great fortune begins as a single thought, a vision held so firmly in the mind that it cannot help but take form in the physical world. There is a principle at work here, one that has been proven time and again. When a man fixes his mind on a purpose, when he refuses to be swayed by doubt or fear, the world begins to rearrange itself around that purpose. Doors open that were once closed. Opportunities appear where none were before. Men call it coincidence, but it is nothing less than the law of cause and effect in motion. This ancient book speaks of diligence, of patience, of the power of small, consistent actions. It says, "He who gathers little by little will increase." The wealthy do not seek instant riches. They build piece by piece, thought by thought, action by action. They know that true abundance is not a sudden windfall. It is the result of a mind trained to see and seize opportunity where others see only obstacles. If you wish to unlock this secret for yourself, begin with your thoughts. Guard them as a farmer guards his seeds. Plant only what you wish to harvest, for in the end your outer world will always reflect the inner. The first lie you must unlearn. From the moment we first understand the world, we are taught a great lie. It is whispered in our ears when we are young, repeated in the streets as we grow, and shouted at us from every corner of society when we become men. The lie is this: they tell us there is not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough good fortune to go around. They say that for one man to prosper, another must lose. That wealth is a pie already baked and sliced, and if you want more, you must take it from someone else. This is the way of the world, they say. This is simply how things are. But this is not truth. This is fear dressed as wisdom. There is another way of seeing, one known to the ancients, and practiced in silence by those who walk in abundance. They understand that wealth is not a pie but a seed. It is not divided but multiplied. The earth does not say, I have given all I can give. The sun does not say, I have shown enough. The river does not say, I have flowed my last drop. Nature knows nothing of scarcity. Only man has invented this idea, and in doing so he has bound himself in chains of his own making. Consider this. When a farmer looks upon his field, he does not see the limits of what is there. He sees the potential of what could be. He does not count the seeds and say, this is all I have. He plants them and knows they will return to him tenfold, 100-fold. The earth does not argue with him. It does not resist. It gives freely to those who understand its laws. So it is with all things. The man who believes in scarcity will act from fear. He will hoard what little he has, clutch it tightly in his fist, and wonder why more does not come to him. But the man who understands abundance opens his hands. He sows freely, gives freely, and watches as the world returns to him in kind. This is not philosophy, it is law. You have seen it yourself. Have you not known men who, no matter how much they gain, still feel poor, and others who, though they possess little, move through the world as if all things are theirs? The difference is not in their purses, but in their minds. One sees lack everywhere, the other sees possibility. The choice is yours. You can continue to believe what you have been taught, to see the world as a place of dwindling resources and fierce competition, or you can open your eyes to the truth that has been waiting for you all along, that abundance is not something you find, but something you create. It begins with a single thought, the law of the harvest. There is a rhythm to the world, a pattern as old as time. The farmer knows it well. He does not plant today and demand fruit tomorrow. He does not stand over the soil and curse it for not yielding before its time. He understands the law. First the seed, then the wait, then the harvest. This is not a suggestion. It is the way of thinking. Yet when it comes to wealth, men forget this truth. They want riches without sowing. They desire abundance without patience. They scatter a handful of seeds and then pace the field, angry that the crops have not yet appeared. They call the world unfair when what they lack is understanding. Every thought you think is a seed. Every word you speak is a seed. Every action you take is a seed. You are planting, always planting, whether you realize it or not. The question is not whether you will reap, but what you will reap. If you plant doubt, you will harvest uncertainty. If you plant fear, you will harvest hesitation. If you plant lack, you will always be searching for more. But if you plant faith, faith in yourself, in your purpose, in the laws that govern all things, you will harvest results that seem like miracles to those who do not understand. This is why the wise man guards his mind as fiercely as a farmer guards his field. He does not let just any seed take root. He chooses carefully. He weeds out negativity, uproots fear, and tends to his thoughts as if his life depends on it, because it does. You may say, but I have planted good seeds before and nothing came of it. Look closer. Did you truly plant? Or did you merely toss a handful of hopes into the wind and walk away? Did you tend to your garden, or did you abandon it at the first sign of delay? The harvest does not negotiate. It does not respond to wishes. It responds only to law. Plant corn and you will get corn. Plant wheat and you will get wheat. Plant perseverance and you will get strength. Plant generosity and you will get abundance. This is not magic. It is cause and effect. The world is not withholding from you. It is waiting for you to understand how it works. When you do, everything changes. The same sun that hardens clay softens wax. The same rain that drowns the careless farmer nourishes the prepared one. The same laws that seem to work against you will work for you once you learn to work with them. Begin today. Plant something worth harvesting. Then tend to it with patience and watch what grows. The wealth killer no one talks about. There is a silent thief that follows men everywhere they go, stealing their fortunes before they ever have a chance to grow. It is not debt, though debt may follow in its wake. It is not laziness, though idleness may be its cousin. This thief moves unseen, unheard, slipping through the cracks of everyday conversation. It is the words you speak when you think no one is listening. Every sentence about money that leaves your lips is a decree. When you say, "I can't afford this," you are not describing a situation, you are creating one. When you laugh and call yourself broke, as if it were some harmless joke, you are casting a spell of poverty over your own life. The tongue is no small thing. It is the rudder of your entire destiny, steering you toward abundance or lack with every word. The wealthy understand this. They do not speak of money lightly. They do not curse their bills or complain about price. They watch their words as carefully as a jeweler watches his scales, knowing that one careless phrase can tip the balance against them. This is not superstition, it is the law of cause and effect in its purest form. There was once a merchant who stood at the crossroads of two cities. To those traveling east, he said, "Business is terrible. No one has coin to spend anymore." To those going west, he said, "Trade is flourishing. Opportunities abound." Both groups believed him. Both were right. The merchant did not realize he was not reporting on reality, he was creating it. Within a year, the eastern road saw fewer travelers, while the western route thrived. His words had shaped the world around him. You are doing this every day. When you speak of money as a struggle, you are not telling the truth about your circumstances. You are writing the next chapter of them. The universe takes you at your word. If you say you are poor, it will agree with you. If you say money slips through your fingers, it will show you how true that can be. Change begins with silence. Before you speak of lack, stop. Before you joke about being bad with money, pause. The words you refuse to say are just as powerful as the ones you choose to speak. Then, when you are ready, plant new words like seeds. Money comes to me easily. I am a wise steward of wealth. My actions create abundance. Say them even if you do not yet believe them. The belief will follow. This is not positive thinking, it is precise thinking. Every great fortune began as words, a vision spoken into existence by someone who dared to say what wasn't yet real until it became so. Your words are either building your future or dismantling it. Choose them with the same care you would use to count gold coins, for they are worth far more. How to turn your daily labor into gold. The sun rises and men everywhere go to work. They sweat. They strain, they trade hours for coins. At day's end they are tired. At month's end they are still poor. They tell themselves this is how it must be, that labor is the price of survival. But they are wrong. Work was never meant to be a cage. It was meant to be a ladder. The difference between a laborer and a wealthy man is not how hard they work. It is not even how much they earn. It is leverage. The art of making 1 hour's effort yield 10 hours results. The laborer sells his time, which is finite. The wealthy man builds systems which are infinite. Consider two farmers. The first wakes before dawn, works until dusk, and tends his field alone. His back aches, his hands grow rough, yet his harvest is only as large as his 2 arms can manage. The second farmer studies the land, builds tools to make the work easier, and teaches others to help him. Soon he is overseeing not one field but many. His yield multiplies while his labor decreases. This is not magic, it is method. Your life right now is a perfect reflection of your current level of leverage. If you must be present for every task, if your income stops the moment you stop working, you have built a job for yourself, not wealth. True prosperity comes from creating value that outlasts your direct effort. There are 3 forms of leverage the wealthy have used since ancient times. First, the leverage of other men's hands. No great fortune was ever built alone. The wise man does not see helpers as expenses, but as multipliers. A single worker may dig a ditch, but 10 workers with shovels dig a canal, and the man who organized them owns the water that flows through it. Second, the leverage of tools. The scribe who copies books by hand may be skilled, but the printer who builds a press produces library. Your mind is the ultimate tool. Invest in it. A new way of thinking is more powerful than any physical instrument. Third, the leverage of systems. The merchant who opens one stall earns one stall's profit. The one who creates a process for selecting goods, training sellers, and managing trade routes builds an empire. Systems turn effort into evergreen results. You already have everything you need to begin. Look at your daily work. Where are you putting in effort that could be delegated? What repetitive tasks could be systematized? What knowledge do you possess that, if shared, could work for you while you sleep? This is not about working less, but about working wisely. The laborer counts his hours. The wealthy man counts his results. Both may toil under the same sun, but only one will own the land when the day is done. Start small. Teach someone one task. Create one checklist that makes repetition easier. Build one stream that does not dry up when you step away. Gold does not come from the sweat of your brow, but from the light of your understanding. Work with your hands, and you will eat for a day. Work with leverage, and you will feast for a lifetime. The invisible force that multiplies riches. There exists in this world an invisible current, a river of abundance that flows ceaselessly toward those who understand its nature. It does not discriminate by birth or station. It cares not for your beginnings, only for your understanding. This current moves toward value, toward service, toward the solving of problems. The man who stands in its path will find his hands filled without grasping. The one who chases it like a beggar chasing bread will watch it slip through his fingers like water. Money is not the root of this current, but merely its shadow. The substance is value, real, tangible value that improves lives, that eases burdens, that answers needs. The wealthy have always known this secret. They do not seek money first. They seek problems worth solving, needs worth filling, pains worth easing. When they find these, they pour themselves into service with the precision of a physician setting a bone. And like magic, though it is not magic at all, the money follows. Consider two merchants in the same city. The first wakes each morning thinking, "How can I make more coins today?" He haggles fiercely, cuts corners, and watches his customers with suspicion. The second asks, "How can I serve better today?" He improves his goods, remembers names, and stands by his word. Within a year, the first is struggling. The second cannot count his blessings. The difference is not in their merchandise, but in their mindset. One chased money and found emptiness. The other chased excellence and found wealth walking beside him like a faithful friend. Service is the key, but wisdom turns the lock. To serve foolishly is to pour water into sand. The wise man serves where his service multiplies. He does not dig wells where no one thirsts. He does not plant orchards where no one hungers. He watches, listens, and discerns where his efforts will bear fruit 100-fold. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Even the sun does not shine equally on all things, but gives its light where it will do the most good. There was once a village where the river ran dry. The people wept, for they knew not how to bring the water back. One man began carrying buckets from a distant spring, wearing himself to exhaustion each day. Another studied the dry riverbed, found where the earth had shifted, and led the villagers to move the stones blocking the flow. The first man was a servant. The second was a savior. Both gave water, but one created a solution that served long after his labor ended. This is the secret the prosperous live by. Serve. Yes, but serve in ways that create lasting value. Build not just for today, but for generations. Plant orchards you may never sit under. Dig wells you may never drink from. The wealth that follows such service is not an accident, but a law as certain as the sunrise. When doors close, what the rich do next. Every man who has ever achieved anything of worth has faced the moment when the way forward seemed barred. The contract falls through. The deal collapses. The path he had set his heart upon closes before his eye. In this moment, men divide into two kinds: those who see the end and those who see a new beginning in disguise. The wealthy understand what others miss. A closed door is not a rejection, but a redirection. It is the universe saying, "Not this way, there is a better way you have not yet seen." The prosperous man does not waste time beating on locked gates. He looks for the hidden path, the overlooked opportunity, the lesson buried in the disappointment. History whispers this truth through the ages. The merchant whose ships sink becomes the banker who finances voyages. The inventor whose creation fails becomes the teacher whose students change the world. The farmer whose crops wither becomes the miller who feeds thousands. Setback is not the opposite of success. It is its necessary teacher. There was once a young scribe who dreamed of serving in the king's court. Year after year, he applied. Year after year, he was refused. Instead of despairing, he began recording the wisdom of travelers passing through the city gate. His rejections had given him time to listen, to compile, to perfect his craft. When finally summoned before the king, he did not come with empty hands, but with a book of Proverbs that would guide rulers for centuries. What seemed like denial was actually preparation. Obstacles serve three purposes for those with eyes to see. First, they test our resolve. Easy victories make weak men. The resistance we overcome makes us equal to the blessings we seek. A sword unused grows dull. A will untested remains uncertain of its strength. Second, they refine our methods. The first idea is rarely the best one. Closed doors force us to think deeper, to plan better, to remove the flaws in our approach. The prosperous thank obstacles for this service, though in the moment it feels like cruelty. Third, they guide us to our true path. Many a man has been saved from mediocrity by being denied what he thought he wanted. The universe often protects us from small successes that would prevent grand achievement. When your way is blocked, pause, breathe. Ask not, why is this happening to me, but what is this trying to show me? The answer may not come at once. Wait for it. Listen. Behind every obstacle lies a lesson, and within every closed door waits an opportunity better suited to your gifts than the one you lost. The prosperous do not curse the storm, they learn to sail. They do not fear the detour. They discover new lands. Your greatest setback may yet become the foundation of your greatest success, if only you have the wisdom to see it not as punishment, but as preparation for what is yet to come. The daily ritual that builds fortune. Before the first light touches the earth, while most men still cling to sleep, a certain kind of man is already awake. He does not rise to check his ledgers or count his coins. He does not scramble to begin the day's labor before the sun grows hot. No, his first act is something far more powerful, something so simple that most overlook its importance entirely. He stills his mind and orders his thoughts. This quiet hour is the foundation upon which all fortunes are built. In the silence before the world awakens, a man may commune with his deepest self. He may review his aims, strengthen his resolve, and plant the seeds of success in the fertile soil of an uncluttered mind. The wealthy have known this secret for generations. Their power does not come from frantic activity, but from deliberate stillness. Consider two farmers. One stumbles from his bed at the last possible moment, rushing to the fields with sleep still in his eyes. He works hard all day, but without true direction, reacting to whatever crisis arises. The other rises while the stars still shine. He walks his land in the pre-dawn hush, feeling the soil between his fingers, planning his planting with care. Though both may labor equally, one harvest will always outstrip the other. The difference lies not in their effort, but in their preparation. The morning ritual is not about doing, but about becoming. It is the daily reaffirmation of purpose, the realignment of thought with intention. A man who begins his day by checking his troubles will find them multiplied by evening. But the man who starts by fortifying his mind will find his troubles diminished before they even appear. There was once a merchant who seemed to have the golden touch. Every venture prospered. Every decision proved wise. When asked his secret, he simply smiled and invited the questioner to join him before dawn. What they witnessed was not some complex magic, but a man sitting quietly with a single candle, reading from a worn book of wisdom, then writing in a journal with careful strokes. The morning is when I build the man, he explained, and the man builds the fortune. This ritual takes many forms, but shares one essence: the conscious shaping of thought before the world has a chance to shape it for you. Some men read, some meditate, Some walk in nature, some pray. The method matters less than the principle that the first thoughts of the day become the blueprint for all that follows. You need no special tools or training to begin this practice, only the willingness to wake while others sleep, and to use that sacred hour not for planning your day but for planning your destiny. The wealthy do not accumulate gold by chasing it each morning. They accumulate the mental discipline that makes gold inevitable. Start tomorrow. Rise before the sun. Light a candle if you wish, or simply sit in the dark. Ask yourself not what you will do today, but who you will become. Then watch as your life begins to reshape itself around that vision. Why the poor man's son inherits more than gold. At the deathbed of a wealthy man, his children gather to hear the reading of the will. The parchment is unrolled, the sums are tallied, the properties divided. Yet within a generation, the fortune has often scattered like dust in the wind. Meanwhile, in the home of a poor but wise father, his son receives an inheritance no court can appraise, and no thief can steal, a way of thinking that generates wealth anew each dawn. True abundance is not contained in chests of gold, but in the mind that knows how to create. The prosperous understand that the greatest legacy they can leave is not money, but mentality. A son taught to fish will never hunger, though he inherit no pond. A daughter taught to think will never be poor, though she receive no dowry. This is the secret the wealthy have passed down since ancient times, not how to inherit wealth, but how to create it. Consider two fathers. One works himself to exhaustion to leave his children comfortable, solving every problem for them, shielding them from hardship. The other involves his children in his work, lets them make mistakes, teaches them the principles by which wealth grows. The first leaves coins that quickly disappear. The second leaves understanding that compounds over lifetime. There was once a great merchant who on his deathbed called his 3 sons to him. To the first he gave his gold, to the second his property, to the third he gave only a worn ledger containing records of every transaction he'd ever made, the successes circled in red, the failures marked with lessons learned. The brothers laughed at the third son's inheritance. Yet within years the first had spent his gold, the second had mismanaged his properties, and only the third had multiplied his portion, for he had inherited not just wealth but wisdom. This is the inheritance that matters. The knowledge that every circumstance contains opportunity, that obstacles are lessons in disguise, that service rendered well brings inevitable reward. These are the treasures no market crash can diminish, no inflation can erode. They are the true family jewels, passed not through legal documents, but through daily example and deliberate teaching. The poor man who understands this gives his children more than the rich man who does not. For wealth is not what you possess, but what you can create. Not what you have, but what you can do. A mind trained to see abundance will find it where others see only lack. A spirit schooled in perseverance will overcome where others surrender. These are the gifts that keep giving long after material inheritances have turned to dust. Look then to what you are building, not just in your coffers, but in your children's minds. Are you teaching them to fish, or merely giving them fish? Are you showing them how wealth is grown, or just how it is spent? The greatest fortune you can amass is not what you leave behind, but what you plant in the hearts of those who follow. For gold mines run dry, but a mind trained in the principles of abundance becomes its own endless source of wealth. This is the legacy that lasts. This is the inheritance that truly enriches.